Hello everyone, welcome to the another episode of the Tech Podcast series. This is Lakshit Pant from Azure Developer Community, and we are here again where we delve into the dynamic world of innovations. In this Tech Podcast series, we have so far invited multiple entrepreneurs, leaders, experts with whom experience we are just trying to help you out how you can create a brand presence, how you can start, how the from industry per se, what the industry looks like. Today, for this podcast opportunity, we have our industry leader, Ms. Nija Shah Goswami ma'am. She is the CEO of Whiskers India. And again, Whiskers India, we'll talk about the brand, we'll talk about her potential, her forte of bringing the brand in. But to kick off the things, we'll just quickly start with a quick introduction of Nija ma'am. If you could introduce yourself first.
Hi everyone. I'm really pleased to be part of this podcast, and I hope I can add some value to all you techies. And I'm Neeta Goswami, and I have been working in the branding industry from almost 16 years.
Wow.
And this brand we launched in 2020, and we right now in about 2000 plus modern trade chains across India, and
Wow.
also on almost every online platform. We are part of it. We are just about to. We have about 21 plus SKUs right now, and we are about to launch new fragrances, about six of them, soon in the market.
Wow. So just to kick off your journey, I would like to understand from you how this journey with Whiskers started, right? What was the initial thought when you guys started this?
Lakshit, the thing is that I was part of the branding industry. I've done a lot of things in my life, but branding has taken almost, the biggest part of my professional journey has been branding. But when I started doing brand solutions or advertising, which was my own company, and so brand solution, when I started doing that at the inception itself, the idea that kind of gave me like kicks was like creating brands would be so much fun. If I had to create a brand, and if I had the opportunity to put the brand out in the market, and then take it to the levels and the heights that I would want to. What I do for other brands, what I was doing for other brands in my branding journey, is what I wanted to actually do for a brand that my own brand. And my husband happens to be the founder of Whiskers India. He's the one who started this company, and along with Ranvijay Singha, who is part of our partnership. And I joined the company to kind of take care of the marketing, sales, and distribution. So, the journey has been pretty interesting because it was pretty local when I started, and there were, of course, expectations that were very high of the other partners, but mostly my expectations of for the brand, because the kind of potential the grooming industry had. I had high expectations, and I literally wanted the brand to be national in a year's time. And of course, when I said this to everybody, like nobody wanted to believe me. Like they were like, "Okay, हाँ, मतलब, it almost takes year, 2 years, 3 years for brands to kind of get into those modern trade chains. Get on the shelf of those modern trade chains. Everybody starts with the online first and then goes offline, which is ideal. Which is ideal because you have to learn the nuances of the retail market, which takes time. For any startup, it takes time, and hence online is much easier, and it's you start creating that first buck very easily. You start rolling the cycle very easily if you're doing online. And for me, it was like I just wanted the brand to be on the shelves of the modern trade chains, and wanted the brand to be a household name when people are shopping for their weekly and monthly shopping, grocery shopping. Also, I wanted the brand to be there on the shelves. So I mean that was pretty tough to achieve, but we did achieve it in the first year. I started in Jan, and November or December we started getting orders for the brand for the modern trade chain. That was our first order. Came in like a huge surprise for everyone. And then now we are slowly focusing on the online bit a little more. When I say online, just our website. It has always been there, like on all the online marketplaces. But we now focusing on majorly on you know uh, kind of increasing the revenue share in the online marketplace.
So how do you diversify your brand presence in multiple e-commerce platform? I know, right? So, and I want to know for does the the plan, or we say the strategy differs with every e-commerce platform that you diversify upon, or it's like the same strategy work out for everyone, like on Amazon, Flipkart, everywhere. Does one strategy work everywhere, or it's something different, right?
I think the strategy has to be different, but the first step, is a little lengthier one where like if it is a good website, like if you're trying to get onto Nikas and the Mintras and those kind of website, the process is very different, and it just doesn't happen because now there is so much of brand inflow, new brands coming in and everything. So it's not easy for your brand to kind of you have to wait for 2 3 months for your brand to actually have a showcase on these platforms. Other than that, Amazon, if you're already there, Amazon, Flipkart are much more easier to get on, but to beat the competition is very difficult. So you have to keep on understanding your own data, how and what is selling more on Amazon, when it is selling. It's like understanding whether there are things that are selling on the weekends more, or is it selling in a certain region more, and how do you kind of put in those ad money very sensibly into on those products only. And the products that
Right.
are not working, you have to kind of, do you want to take them off the Amazon? You also, if you're an offline and online brand, then you have different challenges because you can't extend the same offers always to the online marketplaces, because your offline marketplace is always checking what is the product price strategy on time. So you have to satisfy both.
So maybe it's all about figuring out the patterns that are present there, and market always gives us the hints that yeah, and we have to one should be very active while while representing your brand, right? Again, when we think from Indian ecosystem perspective, we all know it's a very price sensitive market, right? And what do you think? What's different in the this grooming industry, and then especially in a country like India, right, where every single person is very price sensitive, and the persona sensitive is affiliated to every brand. So suppose this Whiskers is maybe Ranveer Singh, so this brand is affiliated to him. So
Vijay
again,
Singh.
Ranveer
Yeah.
Singh, okay, it's very persona specific, right? People follow you know all the brands, something like this. So how do you think what the best way to win users have?
So, if I understand your question correctly, you were saying that India being this diversified kind of market, how do you kind of market a certain product to a certain
Right,
segment, right? Is
right,
that what you're
right,
saying? Okay.
right.
So I believe again, data is the king for everything. Your data will tell you your sales data, your if you're studying your sales data on day-to-day basis, whether it is online or offline platforms, the feedback that you're getting from your consumer is the final feedback, and then it is like the corrections that you have to make based on that feedback, whether it is on packaging, whether it is on the price, whether it is on the offers, and also checking on i- what the what the trends are, the market trends are. So you're saying something? I can't hear you.
No, no, please.
Right. So basically, understanding those trends is something very important. Understanding will only happen if you're taking all sorts of feedbacks and data very seriously and studying them on regular intervals.
What do you think what's happening inside the marketing industry? Are the traditional ways of marketing, when we talk about hoardings, flyers, still Are these things still working out for the industry, for especially for the industry like a grooming industry? Are these still working out, or tech has maybe pivoted into something else when we talk about marketing perspective or making a brand presence?
So it's really, I feel it really depends on what sort of a market you want to penetrate, right? If my market is if I am trying to advertise during the journey, if I'm trying when I'm trying to advertise and reach out to the consumer, which is very local, right? Then it is all good. Like the conventional method might work, but when I am thinking of reaching out to the consumer that is beyond the boundaries of my city or state, right? Like I'm sitting here and I want to influence a consumer in Assam to buy my product, or Delhi to buy my product, or Pune or Nagpur, or those kind of places. I'm not going to be able to reach them in through conventional methods, and even if I reach them through conventional methods, that is going to cost me a lot. So if
Right.
I had to use a conventional method, I would probably have to take hoardings or mass marketing. The amount of money that will go in kind of reaching out to that consumer sitting in all these different tier 1 tier 2 cities, sitting here in Gujarat, will be a huge cost, of course, right? And that too, it doesn't end there, right? Once you reach them, you have to do consistent hammering. So technology, I think, helps you to do this job faster, and it helps you stay consistent. Whether
Okay.
you are talking about social media advertising, whether you're talking about Google advertising, whatever you're talking about, it's much more easier. And when you talk about your CTC, CTR, like the CTRs and everything, it's much more. You can tell yourself that there's a huge difference and you can even measure it. That you
Okay.
This is the kind of money that it took for you to reach that one consumer sitting in Assam, and you never know, they become part of the entire brand community that you are trying to create.
What do you think, right? How to make a market presence? There has been some drastic change in these 2 3 4 maybe after in 5 years, when from maybe in this Instagram, what has disrupted really the marketing presence, right? What do you think for any brand, how one can frame all the go to market strategy? What's the best way to chip in?
I think a good storytelling helps. I mean, and then it's of course the kind of communication that you create and how consistent you are with your communication to the
Okay.
end user, how authentic you are to the community that you're creating. That
Right.
is very important, and it might not be like a huge community. It might be small community. You might start at 1,000, 2,000, whatever, and but as long as you are authentic, and as long as you are consistent, your community is going to grow, your brand is going to grow.
And what do you think with the hike of this, the influencer culture, right? How it's impacting the industry? Is it good or bad, right? How do you see this?
I personally feel that the authenticity is dying in the whole influencer marketing, because there is, I mean, obviously, if you know that in influencer marketing there are micro, macro, and like the huge celeb influencers or whatever. Now, if you are looking at, yes, of course. The mass level influencing that happens through influencers that are really smaller influencers, and the brands who want to reach everywhere spending a certain amount of money, and say have 400 500 influencers involved and do that sort of marketing, it's easier to do. But if a consumer is smart, if your consumer is smart, and if they can see that the influencer is has six skincare brands in a month that they call the part of their routine, then that influencer is actually doing more harm to your brand than
Yeah,
actually doing any good to the brand, right?
yeah,
So I
definitely.
personally believe that I'd rather wait and tie up with an influencer that does less work and stays consistent with a brand in a category, than have an influencer who's doing six, seven, eight brands I mean, there is no authenticity. आज उठ के बोलेगा कि you know, he will say that today my skin routine includes this. 3 days after, he's showing some other brand and saying my skin routine is this. You know, so there's no authenticity.
Is there any untapped potential you believe that, for this particular industry, which helps, which technology can solve? Because when we are building a brand, there is always a gap, or maybe there is always a market to tap in, right? So is there any untapped potential you think that can be solved using tech?
I'm not sure. I'll leave it to the technology experts, but I'm sure there is a lot of potential because if there is any way we can filter out the unauthentic kind of stuff content and make sure, because see, even when we are advertising, we reach out to people who are just randomly placing orders. You know, they just don't have anything good to do, I'm sorry to say, but
Right.
they just place orders, and when the actual orders go there, they refuse
Right.
because cash on delivery, they refuse the orders. If you check with any brands that are D2C, you will know that there are so many returns happening because the consumer who actually placed an order is not serious enough to buy.
Yes.
Right? It's just a
Mr.
temporary temptation because of the ad that they shop now button click here, and they have bought it, and then
Wow, that was really some kind insights coming from you, and thank you for sharing all those insights. And it was really my pleasure to host you. And for all our audience, I hope you got some. I hope you got some real insights from this podcast around marketing, around brand presence, and future of growth strategy. Right. So thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. We are coming up with lots of initiatives for you. Right. Stay tuned with us. Thank you for joining, and thank you Nijaman for being here as a guest. Thank you.
thank you.